What's up, y'all? It's a beautiful day in Nairobi. My monkeys still have not come back to me, but I'm hopeful they'll be back soon. Today I want to talk about some things, misconceptions about America, and how when you talk to someone who's from America, usually they talk about the negative things. I want to kind of talk about the overall picture of America and why it's not a terrible place and how Kenya's better. But for me, anyways. But America is still a great country and with some great promise, places you can go and achieve great things. So, swing. It's easy to talk about negatives in general, especially when you talk about a country like America where it's so polarizing. So anywhere in the world that you go, people will have an opinion about America, even if they've never been there. So it's easy to see the media, see the things that are going on negatively in America, quote unquote, and draw your conclusions based upon the media rather than the actual facts that are going on. So a lot of times I'm having conversations with people and they say things like, oh, America has police brutality, or there's so much inequality as far as racism, or there's so many people who are getting kicked out of the country because of immigration laws and things of that nature. They have this idea that all of these terrible things that the media is pushing, which, remember, it's the media's job to be trying to catch your eyes, right? It's the media's job to say something that is going to be, eye-catching or ear-catching, so to speak. So you have to take that into account when you listen to these news stations and you base your opinion upon what they are saying to you. Like I talked about in a video before, I wouldn't necessarily say that the media is going to lie to you, but they will try to say things that will make it seem like something that is not, in order to gain your ear or gain your attention or gain your viewership. So I was having a conversation last night with a Kenyan, and she was talking about how there's police brutality. There's, you guys are kicking out immigrants. You guys are arrogant. She's saying all these negative things. I let her speak, and then at the end of her spiel, I asked her, so which states have you visited? None. So how do you know exactly what's going on in the country if you've never been there in your life and you have all of these opinions about it, right? It's because of the media. There's so much construction going on here in Nairobi. This is right here in Westlands. They started this, maybe a month ago. Not a month, but basically none of this was here like 2 months ago. And then now you see how much progress that they made. And they have these all over Westland. And this is a really good area. I just wonder, you're building all of these apartments. When does the market become oversaturated? Because here it is. There's only so many people that'll buy these apartments, right? They do say that Kenya is going to become even bigger, and there's more young people here than pretty much anywhere else in the country, in the continent. So if you really believe in the real estate market, but everywhere you go, Kilimani, Kileleshwa, everywhere, they have these high rises going up, and I just really hope that they're not building too many without enough people to buy them, right? So back to America. So she was talking about all these negative things about America. She brought up police brutality. My counter argument to that was, first I pulled the statistics for last year were 277 black people were killed by police officers. If you look at the amount of black people who were killed by either other black people or just gun violence in general, that number was 13,300. So you see the difference? There is a big difference between the amount of people who are killed by the police in America and the amount of people who are killed by gun violence as far as the black community. And I don't think that's talked about enough. And the reason it's not talked about enough is because the media pushes the person killed by the cops when, like I was telling her, 95% of the police are good people who really care about their communities, who really try to make a difference. I know them. I talk to them. I have friends who are cops. So to say that we have this big police brutality thing going on is just not true at all in America, in my opinion. And from being on the ground, seeing things, that's my opinion, but also being on the ground, I've been there. I've been in Texas. I've lived a lot of my life in Texas, but I've also lived in Florida. I've lived in different states to be able to really speak to this matter. And in my opinion, most cops are good cops. So the other point that she brought up, so let's go back to the cop thing. When she was talking about the cop thing, I brought up the fact that there was a protest here about a month or two ago. I was here, and the police ended up killing, I think, 30 different people that day throughout the country for the protest. It was around 30 people. I don't want to misspeak, but it was around that number. My point to her was that is real police brutality, and that is something that is terrible and should be, you all should protest against that, right? But the issue of police brutality and the police in general is much greater here. It's much worse here than it is in America. The cops in America are not as corrupt. I mean, if you're a Kenyan, you could jump in the comments, but the corruption as far as with the police is rampant, right? So the police in America are not as corrupt, in my opinion. So the issue about police in America is overblown. It sounds like a good story. It makes a good movie, but the reality of it is the cops in America are good, in my opinion, for the most part. Like I said, 95% of them are good. That 5%, there's always gonna be that 5%. If you own a business, no matter how many employees you train, no matter what you do, you're always gonna have a certain percentage. It's usually about 5 or 10%. 15, you're getting to the point where you need to start looking at some different things. But that 5-10% of your employees are gonna be employees that you need to coach up more. You're not gonna have all A and B players. You're gonna have some C's. So same thing with the police. And I just wish that we as not only Black Americans, but Black people in general, will kind of change that narrative to, hey, why are we killing each other so much? 13,300 people last year in America were killed. 87% of that 13,300 were killed by other Black people. Why is that? I wish that would be the conversation rather than the police brutality thing. I cannot express the amount of love and admiration I have for this country. I mean, are there more beautiful countries? Yeah, probably. I've been to the DR, it's a beautiful country. Barbados, my native country, it's a beautiful country. But just the way I feel in this country is it's hard to beat. It's something that I've never felt in any other country, and the reason I keep talking about it is because it's a great place to be, and if you're willing to get over the little inconveniences that you may experience, you could really thrive and have a great life here. Back to America. So the next thing that she talked about was immigration. Yay, immigration. Okay, so she started talking about, and this was a great conversation, by the way. I'm not discounting any of her opinions. I'm just simply stating that it's more relevant of an opinion if she would have went to the United States of America. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like me talking about Russia, which I can do because they've done some terrible things, or they're a leader or whatever, Vladimir or whatever his name is. They've done some terrible things, so I could talk about that. But can I have opinions about the actual way that it is? Not necessarily, because I've never been there. So going over to her next point, which was immigration. She was saying that we're just taking people and kicking them out the country and wrongfully doing. So let me give a little bit of let me start off by saying that I'm a first generation American. My mom is still not a citizen. My family is generally from Barbados, Canada, and other places. So for me, as an immigrant, a son of an immigrant, I clearly can relate to the plight of a person who is an immigrant and illegally, or who is here, not in Kenya, but in America, who's in America without proper paperwork and things of that nature. So I can relate to the plight of that. With that being said, there are proper channels that my mom, my grandma, my grandfather, my auntie, my uncle, all of them went through in order to be in the country legally, in order to get a proper work permit so I can open up a clinic here. And that is what I plan to do. Why do I plan to do that? Because I don't want to do things illegally. I could bribe, I could do those type of things, but I just don't want to. It's not worth it to me. Because once you bribe one person, you're gonna have to bribe another, right? So I'm planning to do things legally, and that's what I'm going to do. And the people who do not do things legally will have to face the consequences of that. That's just how things are. I'm not saying that it's right to kick them out. I'm just simply stating that when you have certain reactions to things, when you do certain things, there will be certain reactions that you may not be able to control. And in this case, when you do things that are illegal and you're not in the country legally, you may get kicked out. So there is a theory that says every reaction has an equal or opposite reaction. It's a law. It's a theory. I believe Maslow. Correct me in the comments. I believe it was Maslow's. I know Maslow's theory of hierarchy, but I think he also came up with that one. If not, I apologize. So yes, I agree that it's not great to tell people that they have to leave. They grew up here, if they were here because their parents brought them here. But at the same time, law and order is not meant to be something that is great or for everyone. It's something that's meant to have laws, have order. When you start not doing what the law says, it becomes a slippery slope of that, and then you continue to do not what the law says, right? So just think about that. So yeah, immigration in America, in my opinion, is something that's still being fixed, and it's not perfect, but I believe that if you do things the right way, if you get the correct legal papers like I'm planning to do here in Kenya, I believe you'll be fine. So once again, kind of a thing that media has overblown, in my opinion. It's something that could be talked about in more of a light of, hey, you know, if you get the correct paperwork, like my family did, like I plan to do, you'll be fine. If you don't, you may not be. One thing about Kenyans is if you break down the side of the road like that person had, but people will come and help you. They don't do that in America. Anyways, I want to finish off by saying I love my country. Like, I love where I'm from. I love that it gave me the opportunity to come here. I think Kenya is a better place for me. And if you're someone who wants to get some credentials going for yourself, there's nowhere really that beats America in those type of things. Also, America has great cities with great food, with great people. So don't get caught up in the media thing about how terrible America is, and remember that there are people like me in America, and there are great people in America in general. So remember that just because you think a country is terrible, it still has great people in it. Just like Russia, just like Nazi Germany had great people in it. Just was the country wasn't doing necessarily the greatest things at the time. So just keep those type of things in mind before you judge a person based upon where they're from, or even a country based upon what you see in the media. So, got here, so I'll let y'all later. Peace. That's easy right there, man.
You don't know what you're talking about.
That's easy work for you.
Talk about 55. Let's see what this feels like.
Bullshit ass fucking straps.
You're a funny guy.
Oh man, I'm gonna do that again.
Let's try to see if this.
Yeah, I think it will. You got one more. That ain't nothing to a giant. I'm fucking up today. It's not my fucking day. Move up a little bit closer.
Yeah, I know. I'm just trying to get these.
Yeah, easy money.
Let's try it.